hit you though? I mean, it's okay if you're saying you hit him. I understand if he hit you, but we want to know the truth if he actually hit you. Because, where did he hit you? Don't worry. Be honest.
Gabby Petito's family settles a wrongful death lawsuit against the estate of the man who murdered her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie. But the family's legal fight is far from over. I'm Angenette Levy, and welcome to Law&Crime's Sidebar podcast. Gabby Petito's disappearance and death captured the attention of people around the world. We covered it extensively here on Law&Crime. Sadly, Gabby's body was found near a national park in Wyoming last September of 2021. A manhunt then followed for Brian Laundrie, her boyfriend at the time. His body was found in a park in Florida where he lived. His death was ruled a suicide, and he confessed to killing Gabby in his journal, which the FBI had located and dried out after it was found in a swampy area. And joining me to discuss this settlement is Patrick J. Reilly. He represents the Schmidt and Petito families. Mr. Reilly, welcome to the show. Welcome to Sidebar. Thanks for coming on.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Tell us why you all decided to reach this settlement and how it came about.
Well, actually, initially, before we even filed the lawsuit, we attempted to work out a settlement. And at that point in time, the Laundries weren't interested in talking about a settlement, so we had to file a lawsuit. The trial was scheduled for December. We knew that Brian Laundrie estate did not have a great deal of money, so it made sense to try to negotiate a settlement with a number, and that's what we did.
That was one of my questions. He was a young guy. I can't imagine he had a lot of money or a lot of insurance policies or something to that effect. And you've settled this lawsuit for $3 million. Do you even expect to collect?
No, we'll collect something. There's a minimal amount in the estate, but we're not going to collect $3 million unless somehow the estate, if there's a movie deal or a book deal or something that's worked out, that's the only way that there's going to be any money collected beyond what's there currently.
And is there any indication that a movie deal or a book deal is in the works for his estate?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. Because that's something that comes up from time to time in cases such as these. I know that the Petito family really wanted some answers, and they have other lawsuits pending. Another one against the parents of Brian Laundrie, Roberta Laundrie and her husband. I got a statement actually from their lawyer, Stephen Bertolino, and he had sent this to me when I asked, and he said, at the last court conference for this claim against Brian's estate, I indicated to Judge Carroll that I would work with Attorney Reilly to find a resolution to the wrongful death claim to avoid the expense of a trial when the outcome of a money judgment was unavoidable. Working with Pat Reilly and Matt Luca from Trombley and Haynes, we reached an agreement to settle the wrongful death claim for $3 million. Hopefully this brings some closure to this one chapter of this tragedy, and I look forward to working with Pat Reilly to resolve the litigation pending against Chris and Roberta. So is there some resolution that we could possibly see in the near future regarding the wrongful death lawsuit against Chris and Roberta Laundrie filed by the Petitos?
Well, just to be clear, the case against Christopher and Roberta Laundrie is intentional infliction of emotional distress. The wrongful death claim was the claim against the estate. To answer your question, it's possible. We're in the very early stages of discussion. We have the deposition. We have a court proceeding scheduled next week where the Laundries are attempting to limit the questions that I can ask them during their deposition. Their depositions are scheduled in December. And at this point, it's our intent to continue to move forward, but it always makes sense in a case to discuss settlement to avoid the costs and the risks of going to trial.
I would assume that you all would want those depositions to go forward. I know that that was really important to the Petito family, that they get some sort of answers or that they be able to, question, or you would be questioning Chris and Roberta Laundrie about what they knew and when they knew it and things of that nature. So are you looking to push forward with the depositions rather than going immediately for a settlement?
Absolutely. I think that there has to be questions posed to the Laundries at this point so that the Petito family gets some answers to their questions. I don't expect that we're going to get answers to all of the questions that they would have, but hopefully we can get some of them answered, and we'll find out next week whether we're going to be limited at all. It would be unusual under the circumstances of this case for the judge to limit the questions without a question having even been asked yet.
And what are the Petitos? I mean, what would satisfy them as far as any type of settlement goes? I know that they've launched the foundation in Gabby's name. They'd like to help other people who are victims of domestic violence. So, what would be appealing to them with regard to a settlement?
That's a difficult question. I don't know that there's any sum of money that's going to satisfy them. Obviously, money's not going to bring Gabby back, and there's no amount of money that could replace the loss that they've suffered. And not only did they suffer a loss, they lost the opportunity to confront the person who killed their daughter when he took his own life. So, whatever monies are obtained ultimately through this lawsuit, every penny of it is not going to go to the Petito family. It's going to go to Gabby's foundation to help others who have been victims of domestic violence, or to help with education and training to try to keep someone from being taken as Gabby was.
And we've seen that they've been very active, I know, on their Facebook page and other platforms that they use to talk about this, that they've been out there and trying to do things to do good things in Gabby's memory. How is the family doing? And are they pleased with this settlement? I'm assuming since they agreed to it, they are, but how are they doing?
Well, I think they're doing pretty well for what they've gone through. They are able to speak and discuss the events that led to where we are today. At times, it's difficult for them. When we were in court back this past summer, it was really difficult for them to sit in court, and there were tears shed. The first year anniversary, there were tears shed. But their focus at this point is to honor her name and to assist others. That's what they are working on at this point, and that's helping them through the grieving process.
What do you think that people can take away from this at all? I mean, it was such a tragedy, and this was a case that got so much attention across the country, around the world. People were watching this case, and I'm assuming that the Petitos want something good to come from this, whether it's some changes in police procedures with what went on in the Moab traffic stop. What would you like people to take away from this case?
Well, I think there's two things that they're hoping come out of this. Number one, better training and education for law enforcement and others who come into contact with people who have been victims of domestic violence, what signs to look for, how to assist them, how to prevent it, and educating, I guess, younger women in general and men about the signs and the symptoms of potential domestic violence, and what they can do to address it so that they don't become victims as Gabby did.
Most certainly. So it sounds like there could possibly, potentially, be a resolution to the case. Just to hop back to this, the intentional infliction of emotional distress lawsuit with Chris and Roberta Laundrie. There's sounds like there's a potential for a settlement, possibly by the end of the year.
I don't know that it's going to happen by the end of the year. Um, there's a lot of discussions that we have to have and things we have to take a look at. So, but it's certainly something that we're going to continue to have a conversation about as the lawsuit proceeds.
And just any final thoughts on this entire legal battle that the Petito family has launched in memory of Gabby?
Yeah, I think the only thing is I just hope at some point the Laundries are willing to come forward and to be honest and have an honest conversation about their son and their part in this whole process. I think that would go a long way towards helping the Petito family heal.
And I know that their attorney has been really tight-lipped about that. I've interviewed him before, and the suspicion, obviously, on the Petito family suspicion was always that they knew when Brian was coming back from Wyoming that they knew about what had happened and didn't say anything. That was the suspicion of the Petito family.
I think it's not only the suspicion of the Petito family, it's the suspicion of the FBI and other law enforcement agencies as well, because uh, they believe Gabby was murdered on the 27th of August, and then I believe it was the next day, there was a long telephone conversation between Brian Laundrie and his parents, and then immediately after that call ended, they made a phone call to their attorney in New York. So circumstantially, it would seem that they knew at that point that Brian had murdered Gabby.
Well, we will see if we ever get those answers, and we'll, of course, follow the case next week and follow any developments with Chris and Roberta Laundrie with regard to getting those answers for the Petito family. Patrick J. Reilly, thank you so much for joining us here on Sidebar. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And that's it for this edition of Law and Crime's Sidebar podcast. It is produced by Sam Goldberg and Logan Harris. Bobby Zoki is our YouTube manager. Alyssa Fisher is our booking producer, and Kiera Bronson handles our social media. You can download and listen to Sidebar on Apple, Spotify, Google, and wherever else you get your podcast. And of course, you can always watch it on Law and Crime's YouTube channel. I'm Angenette Levy, and we will see you next time.